my papyrus. Since I've been in it, put me in a debate, you know I'm gon' win it. If I scream black power, don't get timid. If I say black city, I'm talking about Kemet. If I say black city, I'm talking about Kemet. Primary researching, we done pushed it to the limits. All you dudes finished. The king counting cattle up with brother Reggie. When I'm in Oakland, smoke smoking, bro, they love the Chevy. Back in the day, it was the spokes on the chariot. Long procession when the king got carried out to every spot. Woman looking nice as ISIS. I read ancient texts, so my advice is priceless. Nubian gold, your ice don't entice us. Beating me harder than counting grains in your spices. Your heart was beating, but your brain dead, you're lifeless. Yo, they ain't nothing like us, yo. Don't try to make me mad. Make me smile and say you love me, man. That's real right there. Yeah, come on. You should listen to your main man's advice. Do a YouTube and apologize like Dice. Or the back fade coming like the Antichrist. Egyptologists see me reading and said that I'm nice. I got a Stella with your name on it. I'm like Sargon. You the type of dude wake up in your car gone. Told, cause of the money you owe. Before you stream, you should clean up that humble abode. Like Akhenaten City for my woman in gold. I keep the pseudos running, people coming in droves. You catch me on a live stream with Pan-African James. When we building, call us by our African names. I'm for the children. It ain't nothing happen to change. We on that black hype, so we still packing them things. It's for protection. Got connections. My complexion, pure black, that's the essence. Make me smile. You love me? Show me some love. Alright. 1, 2, 1, 2. What up with the people? Check it out, man. When it start raining like this, like it is doing in the Bay, or where I'm at right now, I'm out in the Central Valley. But let me see something. When it start raining, I'll be happy that I study. I'll be happy that I stream. Because I'll be like, what else I'm going to do? Just sit in the house? I'm not going to watch TV. I mean, I will at night when I'm laying in the bed with the wife or something. But it ain't nothing better to do than just study and go over information in this type of weather to me. That's why I like to plan for these type of seasons. But I got this document we're going to look over just to reinforce some of the things we started talking about yesterday. And it's a document by Julian Cooper called Kushites Expressing Egyptian Kingship, Nubian Dynasties in Hieroglyphic Text, and the Phantom Kushite King. All right. So let us get it in one time.
Yeah, and I'ma work cause I ain't going out lazy, bruh. Thought he was conscious, but the homie just played me, bruh. The house of consciousness is going out crazy, bruh. They crazy, bruh. Alright, it's getting kinda dirty in these YouTube streets. The Amin Ra squad, God thinking you dudes weak. Islam or Judaism, where you learn what you dudes teach. The West African rappers slapping with that voodoo speech. All that sub-Saharan terror about a cuckoo feet. I'm like Norma, that agricultural farmer that grew you wheat for the storehouses. We feed the Hebrews and lead the people when we defeat the feeble. They wanna know polite rip me off, but Sonetta paid me my money though. That mean he 100. And I'ma work cause I ain't going out lazy, bruh. Thought he was conscious, but the homie just played me, bruh. The house of consciousness is going out crazy, bruh. They crazy, bruh. Nubian with the jewels, I rock the pinky. I think Jesus got to save me, a doctor save me, a Dr. Inky. I cop the copper jewels on blue and red. I'm not the chakra doctor, y'all playing woke. But you in bed, you won't pop a chopper, you Grandmaster J. You just talking. Punks turn the other cheek and you will walk away. Y'all gon' have to pardon my Moorish. That's Taharka Bay. I'm on that black African power on my darkest day. And that's my brother Ankh stomping them other punks. We brought them gators to Italy, you loving the Moors. And now I'm teaching from my shrine like brother Jabari. Scope in the savannah cause I'm on another safari. Tasha K showed us Frank record. Young Pharaoh just losing his mind and y'all can't help him. I know one thing, you're a fool if you're still out here donating to Umar school, that shit cool. And I'ma work cause I ain't going out lazy, bruh. Thought he was conscious, but the homie just played me, bruh. The house of consciousness is going out crazy, bruh. They crazy, bruh. Look. You showing your hidden colors like Tariq Nasheed. A bunch of pseudo information I don't think I need. Probably lying on the text, ask Divine or Zion Lax. Just get that microphone ready. With Metal Netta, I'm Stone Jetty. A Ujahu, a Saw Imhotep. Y'all probably timid still on them Bobby Hemmett teachings. I'm in Gozy with the DNA. Cats corny and it's killing me too. You talk that black shit, but you look Arab like Gorilla Hebrew. You need therapy, they telling me just chillin', be cool. I'm a magi archer, you a sad guy talking. And I'ma work cause I ain't going out lazy, bruh. Thought he was conscious, but the homie just played me, bruh. The house of consciousness is going out crazy, bruh. They crazy, bruh. All right, let's see what we can do. Yeah, YouTube is trash with the notifications. I ain't mad though. I like to see my people gonna roll through. We'll have another good show. It'll be another good video. You know? But it'd be like, God, Well, what's up? What everybody got up? What it do today? What's the word? How everybody doing? We was talking about Kush yesterday. And we was talking about Kushite relevance or just understanding Kush from the proper perspective. We didn't get that far though. I had to cut the stream kind of short. Then I was happy to see Brother Reggie continue the conversation over on his page. So that was cool. Oh yeah, you didn't have to raise the polite question, but that was hella funny too. Let me see. I got this text up here that I just told us about. Kushites expressing Egyptian kingship. Even these titles are always Egyptocentric. They suppose Egypt was the dictator. And all of these other kingdoms or what have you, or whatever the case, are subjects. And that Egyptocentric philosophy is based on the way that Egyptology looks at things. You know what I'm saying? It's based on the way Egyptologies presuppose Egypt went down. That it was like this dictating ruler that smashed on everybody. The reason why, one of the reasons why this is the case is because a lot of the accounts that we have left to us, most of the accounts, most all of them, besides when we go into out of Egypt to the north, they're Egyptian accounts. It's like your homie had a fight around the corner and he come around the corner and tell you about the fight. And he won when he told you about the fight. Then you go around the corner and you hear another story about the fight. Well, the version we normally hear is his version. The political view of Egypt, the propaganda of Egypt. But it's funny because we should start to even ask, is the Egyptian language and the Egyptian script really Egyptian like that? Some of the first finds of this language are found in the areas we call Nubia, down south, closer to Kerma than Memphis. Maybe not closer to Kerma than Thebes, but Cousteau, not just the Cousteau incense burner, there's also this sapphire, not the sapphire stela. Is this other one, the name eludes me right now, where we have, where they tell us this fanciful tale that Egyptians and Nubians chose the same symbols for kingship. That don't even really make no sense when I start to think about it. Because how was they both familiar with this symbol? Right? And then how did they both choose it just haphazardly, just coincidentally, in order both to say that this is the king of the area? How is that supposed to have transpired? But it's because we find symbols of the king of Egypt later that we know is the king of Egypt. But at the time period we find it, it ain't in Egypt. It ain't within the current borders of Egypt. But we find the symbol down in Cousteau in Nubia. And Egyptology gonna say, well, since we found it in Nubia, but we know Egyptians used it, we can't say Nubians was the first Egyptian kings, because that would give up too much. So let's just say they chose the same symbol for kingship, but you can't find that symbol for kingship in Egypt in that same time period. You can't find it. You can find it 100 years or two later. So that Egyptocentrism, to where that Egyptology presupposes on everything it analyzes, that everything, Egypt was the dominant force in everything. Looking over real text let you know that ain't really even the case. And yesterday when going over, we were watching a very good video. We might finish some of that video today, the video by Jeremy Pope. Shout out to Jeremy Pope. I'm going to holler in a minute, bruh. Maybe fall of next year. I got something to get at you about. I just got to keep researching. But in that video, he was breaking down the double kingdom. And just to understand that everything we learn about Egypt, when we start to get down to the terminology, it wasn't no Egypt. We understand that. And when we understand on what we was taught from the past, we go straight to Kemet. But if we keep analyzing, Kemet ain't even that. Kemet was not, from its inception, and Brother Reggie has showed us some more things about some Kemets that we should continue to look into. But from its inception, the term Kemet did not mean all of what we call Egypt today. It just didn't. And in understanding what we're going to analyze, we got to address that. If y'all want to look at some text that's discussing that, we can look at it. We can see when they say Kemet, they not even talking about. I even looked to see how many times was the two lands in reference to Kemet. Later you can find, you know what I mean? When they be like, any sentence that would say, Ta-Mehu, which would be North Egypt, and Ta-Shemahu, which would be what we call South Egypt today, equals, not, it don't have to say equals, comprises Kemet. We think it says that because of the way we were taught, and then we will peruse the text, we don't pay no attention. But when we start looking at the text, it don't say that. So, when Jeremy Pope proposes that Cush and Egypt were a double kingdom, well, if we look at how borders encroach upon things and how borders expand and contract, we could probably look at Ta-Mehu, the expansion of Ta-Mehu and Ta-Shemahu to encompass a double kingdom like the one Jeremy Pope mentions. Meaning that if what we call Upper Egypt was taken over by some people who was south more than that, and then what make you think, how you think they looked at Upper Egypt if they took it over? As an annexed part of their kingdom, the Kushites. When they came and smashed on Upper Egypt, it will be, well, then that would mean then Ta-Shemahu would be part of Kush at that time. We got all kind of indications of that not even at that time period, areas of Ta-Shemahu was Kush. So what am I saying in plain English? I'm saying areas of Upper Egypt was considered Kush to even as early as Tutmosis. So there is a term, y'all know the term, the Viceroy of Kush. This was a diplomatic term put into place by Tutmosis. Yep, we're gonna pull all that up. The Viceroy, all right, it's time to pull that up. Thank you, James. What's up with you? The Viceroy of Kush. So let me go on and whip out that good known map so y'all can peep gang. Now, I'm just using some primary evidence that I know about the ancient Egyptian government, if you would want to call it that, right? And I want to show us that how Kush was dealt with prior to the beef that we know about in about the 25th dynasty. Kush wasn't way down here to Tutmosis now. Pharaohs like that didn't even go there, I don't think. Did Tutmosis go to Kush? You feel me? And because this southern power was becoming so strong, look how far down I am. Let me zoom out. Way down here. Because the southern power was so strong that when Tahuti Mes or Tutmosis, when he installed this new governmental viceroy Kush, guess what areas he ruled over? The viceroy of Kush ruled from Thebes down. I repeat, and you can look this up so you can say, well, damn, how's you the viceroy of Mexico and you all in LA? What we thought, well, that would mean that we knew how well connected that area was to Kush. So what is the viceroy of Kush? that's all some language that be making this. We don't know what that mean, bruh. God damn. Let me show you something. The term for viceroy in the ancient Egyptian, everything don't line up with Greek and English correctly. And if it does, you can correct me right here. But I don't think a viceroy literally means the son of the king. But in ancient Egyptian, the viceroy was Sa Nisut. And this is also how European Egyptologists used to presuppose their own tradition on the ancient Egypt, and they would think they saw ancestral relations. Not saying that there wasn't none of that going on, but it was also mixed up with not understanding a lot of the language. Just let me break this down. The viceroy of Kush title, not his birthright or birth position. His title was Sa Nisu, which meant the son of the king. Right? So just like Sot 12, piece to Sot 12, Sot 1241, just like he put up the viceroy means the king's son of Kush. Well, that means he ain't really the prince. He's not the birth son of the king. He just got the title of the king's son so you could know how high his rank is when he come through Kush. Now, if we could look, I can't pinpoint exactly where Hot Noob is, but I'm about to try. See this, when we're gonna look it up, you see this first gnome, and you see this Elephantine Aswanish area. Let's look up Hot, H-A-T, Noob, N-U-B. H-A-T-N-U-B. Hot Noob. We could probably make it one word and then it'll work. Hot Noob. You see that? Now, I want to ask y'all some funny stuff. And only people who read Metal Nature can prove what I'm saying to be true. So it simply says Hot Noob was a location of Egyptian alabaster. No, I know what I can do. I can use a dictionary to prove to you what is happening here. So now when we read the wiki, it says Hot Noob was a location of Egyptian alabaster quarries and associated seasonally occupied worker settlement in the eastern desert about 65 kilometers or 40 miles from El Minya, southeast of El Amarna. All right. Let's see if they show us the location of Hot Noob and any whatever. Are they not showing us the location of it? And so never mind anything I said about the location. We just know it's in the eastern desert, 65 miles from El Mina. I thought El Amarna was in the north, but nevertheless. The pottery, it says the pottery, hieroglyphic inscriptions, and hieratic graffiti at the site so that it was in use intermittently from at least the earliest of the reign of Khufu. That's exactly what I want to show us, my brother. That they say it's an alabaster quarry, right? But just like my brother who could read the glyphs just put up in the chat, he said they claim it's alabaster, but Noop means gold. So I want you to trip off that, but also trip off. But first I need to locate that. And we know the Eastern Desert, right? But we're going to click El Amarna to see where they put us. Yeah, exactly. We right down here like, no, that's up high. Look, that's up high, right?
Because they're going to bend that one bend. And then, wait a minute, that's not the Kush. Yeah, that's up really high. Because if it's the bend of the Nile right here, then that damn near is in a high location. So, yeah, it wasn't located in no place what I thought, but I still want us to trip off Hot Noob. Because, let me see if I can find it. The wiki again. I got to go back a page. Alabaster Quarry, right? Well, I was going to show us if you take HWT and put it in the ancient Egyptian dictionary, it's going to say the house, right? And then we look at this as a neck piece. Equivalent to like a gold chain with some, because these are the things that you would wrap around your neck. So this is a golden neck piece, which is Nub. Then they let us know it is a foreign land by putting this determinative. So why are they calling Hot Nub a foreign land? This ain't the inquiry that I came here for, but why are they calling this a foreign land when they say it was right there, damn near in the middle of Egypt? But now, this ain't just, let's put Hot Nub Fortress and see if we can find something about that. And if that ain't the fortress I'm thinking of, I need to learn remember what's the name of this fortress. All right, let me see. I just want to see if I can find this particular fortress I'm thinking about. As it concerns the Viceroy of Kush. That's in the Sinai. They just showed me something he fortified in the Sinai. But I don't like to speak on things that I can't show you right off the hand, so I'm just going to not even speak on that right now because I can't pull that up. So we'll just talk about the Viceroy of Kush real quick. Now I want to go to this university to verify some things that we was just talking about. But I don't, dang, man. So if you look at some of the initial or some of the viceroys of Kush, you're going to look at their names and automatically see, not all of them, that a lot of them they had Nubian, what I would call a Nubian name, right? Or a name, a different name that wasn't a northern type of name. I mean, a name that indicated Southern heritage a lot of the times. So when we talk about some of these people, a lot of the times we're going to see shortened versions of Nehesi. I'm not even going to argue that Nahi is completely a shortened version of Nehesi, but in his name we have the Nay bird, which is at the root of the term Nehesi. Nahi would mean one of the Nay bird, or one who prays, or something like that, or one who stings. But Nahi was a viceroy of Kush, and we can see that Nay just like in Nehesi, where he was from. It's plenty of those where you can see that proven, because if we get further in the officialdom, and I don't got all of a list of them, we'll find viceroys like, let me put it, Pa-Nehesi. Did I spell it right? Let me see, Nehesi. Pa-Nehesi. Pa-Nehesi, who also, these brothers named Pa-Nehesi must have been prominent, and that name must have lasted for a while because it enters the Hebrew Bible. as a prominent character, if I'm correct, the grandson of Aaron. In the Bible, the grandson of Aaron named Phineas. This goes back to Pa-Nehesi, the ancient Egyptian. And Pa-Nehesi, simply, if you know how to read the Medu Neter, as it tells us right here, I'm going to make it big. Pa-Nehesi, ancient Egyptian, Pa-Nehesi means the Nubian. So thank you, Shesmu. If that was the matter of our conversation, it would more accurately trans back to the Nehesi, the southerner, the one of the south. Right? But I'm going to say that this goes to a Phineas from the Bible? Because I'll make it easy for you. I'll open up a Canva, right? Let me see where I want to open up that Canva right here. Let me see. And I'm going to break this down hella easy. But we have to be able to see it, though. If you can't see it, you can't be it. Let me see. I just made that up. Don't repeat it. It'll go around like fake it, you make it. You feel me? But now that is true. If you can't see it, you can't be it, because everything starts with you imagining something, even getting out the bed. Before you get out the bed, you have a picture in your head of yourself getting out the bed, and then you go get out the bed. People don't really notice that, but before you go lift weights, you see yourself in your head hitting some weights at the gym, then you go lift them weights. But anyway, hold up. A lot of the times it worked like that. So I will stand behind that little limerick I threw out. But let's go right here. Pa-Nehesi. Right? Then what we got? They just told you this mean the Nubian, and it was ancient Egyptian. I told you it go into the Hebrew as Phineas. So in that means in the Hebrew, whether you know it or not, whether they try to change it and tell you it means the snake, that will make no sense. How would Aaron's grandson in the Bible who saved Israel be the snake? He was the black man. He was that southerner. He was the Nubian, actually, and more indicative not of his color, hue, or anything, indicative of his origins in the south of Africa. South more than Egypt, I should say. So y'all can see, what similarities do you see? Well, the similarities you see should let you know that we didn't have no vowels. The Hebrew language or the ancient Egyptian language didn't have no vowels. So then what you got to do? You got to take out all the vowels, and then you can see the similarities. Now, this H right here is coming from the Greek injecting this. You know how this pi is close to, you know how the Greek work. So go on and get rid of that H. All right, well, you can say the Hebrew is still the same thing. So what you're dealing with here is this Y is the difference because of how nisbation works in ancient Egypt. This Y represents an I, means one of. So we know that's suffixed on. So this is what we're dealing with. Now, in both languages, the P represents a prefix that's a definite article. Definite article that is a masculine definite article, the. So we know that's a suffix. A prefix. So we back down to this. The root meaning of Nehes, the ancient Egyptian, you got cognates here. You just established cognates by the root, and the older language will tell you the truer meaning, not the newer language. I mean, where it came from. This is why if I go back to Google and even I put Pa-Nehesi right here. And it said Pa-Nehesi means the Nubian. But watch when I put Phineas. P-H-I-N-E-H-A-S. A biblical figure, it ain't gonna say nothing about the Nubian. I'm gonna say meaning. Phineas and look, bronze colored one or the Nubian. The name Phineas from the Hebrew with various meanings included the bronze colored one or the Nubian. Now let's stop. Because Jesus was supposedly the bronze colored. Olive colored. With feet like bronze or whatever they said. But they telling you what that bronze already meant to them because it could be either bronze colored or the Nubian. Now this mouth of brass oracle or mouth of prophecy, just throw that out. Ain't no roots back to that etymologically. They just be making stuff up in order to detach it from its Egyptian etymological roots. Because then you would know Phineas, who ran the javelin through the Midianite whore in the Bible, was a Nubian who saved Israel. I know it seemed like I'm off track, but we talking about Kushites. Nubians ain't Kushites. Nubians mean southerner. Kushites were the southerners if you go outside of Ta-Seti. If you get outside of Ta-Seti going south, which still was connected to Egypt, you're dealing with Kushites. Right? That's what that is. So here go the document. But I had it on another, let me see. So now it says, let me make it to let me get the size right. Now it says, Kushites expressing kingship, Nubian dynasties and hieroglyphic texts and phantom Kushite kings. So how that work? Let's read the abstract, and then we're going to skip around the document. It's done by Julian Cooper. Here's the abstract. Excuse me. Let me get my burp on real quick. Excuse me. All right. The lower Nubian borders of the second intermediate period situated between Kush and Egypt. Damn, it'd be so much to explain, even in that sentence. It's so much that we won't understand, so let me break it down for you. The lower Nubian borderlands. So the lower Nubian borderlands take us to the area. Why does it say lower? Oh, lower Nubian is closer to upper Egypt. So if I show you here, and I want to look, I'm going to look up the word Ta-Seti, right? And watch what it says. Ta-S-E-T-I. Ta-Seti was an ancient Egypt, meaning the land of the bow that was an extension of the Nile Valley. Located south of Egypt, its powerful kingdom was known for its skill. No, it says south of Egypt, which is true. A portion of Ta-Seti was in Egypt, and a lot of it spread outside of Egypt. So imagine you going upstream outside of Egypt. I'm gonna show you this other name for Ta-Seti. Where it say that at? It ain't gonna put it in here. Maybe I could go to etymology and show you. Now look, early Nubian kingships and the Cousteau discovery controversy. We're gonna talk about that. I started this show by talking about that. They call these kings Nubian kings. Nubian ain't really a thing, so it would have to be southern kings, right? And they was claiming to be kings in the area before we find people in Egypt claiming to be the king, and they used the same symbol to say they was the king. But people don't want to just simply say by default Nubians was the first kings of Egypt, right? But I'm looking for one particular thing. Another name that they called Taseti that you can't really find people knowing about this. Here we go. Let's see if it say it in here. Well, it don't say it in here. And so I'm just gonna tell you this other name was Takenet. Let me see if I can pull it up. Kentet. Khent. Kenta. Kenet. I'm gonna try Takenta. All right, well, what it means is now it's time for the dictionary. The dictionary will help me. What it means is the frontier. So I'm gonna type frontier. And let me see which word it takes me to so I can remember. Now notice, this is the roads of Horus. But this is the northeast frontier when you're going out of Egypt towards the north. But I'm looking for the southern frontier. This is the frontier district. It's called a Tash. Really like a border, an area by the border, right? So trip off what the frontier actually was like to them. But the term I'm looking for is like, this say no. All right, well, I can't find it. It was another name to express the outskirts of Taseti, and it was like Tachinet. So if Nom number one was the Taseti that was within Egypt, then when we got down here, they were still calling these areas some Taseti, but it was like the frontier areas as they expressed it. So let's get back to the document. And that becomes significant too. And so let me see. That's the note of the second intermediate period. The first intermediate period being from the 6th dynasty to 11. 6th family to the 11th family. Or, see, I can't say 2. I can say that intermediate period encompassed the 7th through 11th families. Then the 12th family unified Egypt, and it fell right apart after the 12th family. 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th family is in the second intermediate period. Just like I said on YouTube, on IG when trying to promote this video, I said an intermediate period is not a term an ancient Egyptian would have ever heard of. I know there's no cognate term with intermediate period in the ancient. Oh yeah, Kenta. You're right. Thank you, Pooh. Yep. And they would call it Ta Kent. Yep. And it's like the frontier lands. I appreciate you for putting that in the chat. All right, hold on. So then, again, we on that second intermediate period. It's just after Simroset unified Egypt, their dynasty fell off, and things went to different people in the area claiming kingship. So let's talk about that right there. Because it wasn't no billboards. The closest thing you had to a billboard was a stela or some rock art. It wasn't no, I mean, they wasn't even really passing around cylinder seals like that to get the message out to people in Egypt. That's more Mesopotamia. Right? So how you go, think about it, let's be more practical. How you gonna claim kingship? Think if you had to do it. This is how I be imagining my history. How do you claim kingship with nothing, no technology? I'm gonna tell you, and this is why they don't like gangs in America. because it happened the same way. And most wise people do not tell a group of people first because they don't want to get beat up. So what do wise people who want to be powerful amongst men, what do? Like, what if you got trapped in jail? How do you become a boss? I've never been in jail. But if you trapped amongst a group of men, how do you do it? How you become king? First, you holler at somebody who down with you. So you can get numbers on the third person that y'all about to go talk to. Now you got numbers on the third person. Now it's 3 of y'all. You probably ain't ready to install force as a system yet, but you getting your first men who about to enact this system of letting people know you the king. I'm just going through how it would have to go down. This ain't coming from no Egyptology books. Tell me it happened different. You think somebody called the whole village, come here, everybody. They ain't like, who is you? You ain't even got no rank. So how would this crack? You start confiding in your close friends, telling them what's up. Y'all get together and y'all go out to talk to more men. Probably once you get about 10 men, you ready to start moving because this is the move. You have to convince people living along the Nile to pay their taxes back to you. Let me take this call. You there? All right, cool. Oh. So somebody said you go from gnome to gnome, and if they're against you, you fight. If not, they let you in like the victory Stella. Yeah, you got to convince people to pay their taxes back to you. Right? And so that's what that is. And how you do that? You got to have some numbers. So we're going to talk about some of these men while they was doing that. Check it out. You can read along. Second intermediate period situated between Kush and Egypt was witnessed to one of the most culturally complex episodes in the Pharaonic period. The intersection of the acceding Kush over local Egypto-Nubian elites, see how they know the difference? The intersection of an acceding Kush over local Egypto-Nubian elites living in the C group lands provide for a set of mixed cultural expressions. This region was witness to one of the few episodes in Pharaonic Egypt where Egyptian administrators served a foreign king. See, that's how they put that together. This ain't like America and Israel, where we got American administrators serving foreign nations. That just wasn't popping back then. So this king you trying to call foreign inserted himself as the true king of Egypt. And we got to understand and recognize the double kingdom so we can know Kush was all a part of that from the fundamentalist perspective. When I say the fundamentalists, they say Napata is the homeland of their chief deity Amen. They know lightweight where they came from. They came from the south, and this is why in times of any type of beef, they went to the south, and this is why they prophesied that a king would come from the south. Not always. All right. Administrator served a foreign king, in this case, the ruler of Kush. A number of documents produced by this elite gives us unique insights into the power of karma and its efforts to project that power in its newly acquired territories. See, that's all the way they presupposing things. Like Egypt was a karma newly acquired territory. A reassessment of one particular stela, cartoon number 18, demonstrates that its ruler of Kush, Naji, is not a reference to an individual king at all, but rather a rare title, a counterpart to the common second intermediate period epithet strong king. This stela, along with other documents in the new Kushite realm, reveal the attempts for Nubian rulers. Now see, all of a sudden, this Egypto-Nubian elite who are being encroached upon the Kushites, they just turned into Nubians all of a sudden. I mean, you notice how this person isn't even clear on his distinction between Egyptians and Nubians? I mean, Nubians, who they call Nubians and Kushites. Well, it says, this stele, along with other documents in the new Kushite realm, reveal the attempts of Nubian rulers to adopt the new elite Egyptianizing language of the power. See, I wouldn't agree with this. New elite Egyptianizing language of power to express their local dominance. That's his point of view in the abstract. I'm going to scroll through the document and get down to some of these claims. So this is after the term Kemet came out. 12th Dynasty, they learn about Kush. They start talking about Kemet. And at about that time, it seems to be a particular area in the south of what we call Egypt today. But since ain't no true king of all of Egypt, we got people coming out the cut calling themselves the king of Egypt. So here it says, in a rock inscription northwest of the massive of Umma Nabari, deep into the eastern desert of Nubia, a certain personage named TRH, Terra, TRH, is recorded, which undoubtedly produces the same name as the ruler of Kush, TRIAHI. I wasn't even going to try to pronounce that. In the execration text, it is even possible that these names recorded the same individual, although so little was known of Kushite onomastics that it cannot be ruled out that it is the reuse of the name or epithet by a descendant. The Nabari rock inscription is quite remarkable, not only because it implies that the hieroglyphic learned scribe was the employee of a Kerma ruler, and thus some literacy on the part of the Kerma elite, but also because it verifies the influence of Kerma far into the eastern desert beyond its heartland near the Third Cataract and the Ledi Basin. It is important that the Kushite ruler deliberately chose to use the Egyptian writing to express the territory and rulership. See, all of this stuff is just presupposition, because we don't have the Kushite language, but we clearly got text from Kushites writing in what we call the Egyptian language. How we know who language it was, really? when we first find it closer to the area of Kushites than Egyptians. Thank you. How they so fluent in somebody else's stuff? At 3,500, I mean, way back in the day. Although one might speculate on who the intended audience was in such an inscription. Perhaps nomadic magi pastoralists or an Egyptian gold miner who were transgressing into the perceived Kushite territory in the desert. The interest of Kush in the eastern desert evidenced by the inscription also goes some way to explaining how Kush could summon the Magi contingency in the Kushite-led alliance that raided the Nile Valley, as mentioned in the historical inscription at the tomb of Sobek Nakhet II at El Ka. Returning to other evidence for Kushite kings in writing, a ruler is mentioned by title as Sa-Ra Hakani Kush. Woo, he was raw. He said he was the Sa-Ra, the son of Ra, the ruler belonging to Kush. The son of Ra, the ruler in Kush, they say. In a recently discovered second intermediate seal impression from Elephantine. The same expression, ruler of Kush, is also found within the opening curve of a cartouche in the Buhin stela of Sepethor. An individual who exclaims that he is pleased the Kushite king in the building of the Temple of Horus. So he built the Temple of Horus to please who? A Kushite king. I can't even say a southern king. Because if it say Kushite, they calling them by name. In the building of the Temple of Horus. Despite extensive excavations at both Kerma and other Kerma classic centers like Sai Island, there is yet no text that would attest to Kerma elite using Egyptian script for use in documentary texts, ostraca, or papyri, other or religious or votive objectives. Or religious and votive objectives. So they trying to say they can't find no other text where they was using the Egyptian script like that back in the day. I don't know. I don't want to call it the Egyptian script. Now, we're still talking about Stela Khartoum 18. The only other instance of a Kerma ruler is the mention of a certain Neji in the late second intermediate period Buhin stela of Ka, Khartoum Museum number 18. Sam Soderberg, whatever, who made the first study of the stela, considered this Nej to be the name of a Kushite ruler. And subsequently, this personage had entered the scholarly literature as the name of a ruler of Kush, of a Kushite polity. This ruler has also been, This ruler has also been equated with depictions of a ruler wearing the upper Egyptian white crown on several stelae from Buhin, and also considered to be the father of the Kushite ruler mentioned in the ensuing Kamos War of Liberation. Ka stela is set in the context of a group of stelae erected by the Egyptian elite at Buhin, who, in the political vacuum of the second intermediate period, and here we're looking at it, right? What's that say? Period Lower Nubia renders service to the rulers of rulers of Kush/Kerma. Following the analysis of Stuart Tyson Smith, a resurgent Kush in the second intermediate period did not slack or destroy Egyptian fortified settlements in Lower Nubia, but rather Kush employed a much more pragmatic strategy of co-opting the local Egyptian Nubian elites and their concomitant administration in order to rule the lower Nubian borderlands. This elite is frequently called the expatriate community. It says, another Buhan expatriate called Sependhor, a relative of Kaz, erected a stela where he too extolled his services for the ruler of the Kush rather than the Egyptian king or ruler. In a seemingly contradictory or political allegiance, this family, all descendants of certain Sobekenhab, seem to have been in charge of maintenance of a local temple of the deified Kakaura, who is Senroset, at Buhan while in the employment of Kush. Interesting. At least one official in this period, Dedu Sobek, had the title of interpreter and could thus communicate effectively with Kushites or local Nubian Sea Group people. In all likelihood, there would have been some functional bilingualism and diglossia diglossia presented in many of the fortresses communities in Lower Nubia. And that's something good to assert, that they was bilingual, and that's how that went down. Right? And we do know of terms for interpreter or what have you. It says some other Egyptian officials might as well have functioned in Kushite lands. A certain Ha'akhkef at Edfu may also have been able to freely travel between Upper Egypt and the Kushite realm. And he said, I released my wife, my children, and my property from the south of Kush in 13 days. I have brought gold and 26 female servants. I was reimbursed for 6 years. Interesting. We might also wonder whether the official Imhab, whose travels took him as far as the area of Miu, deep in the Nubia, may have rendered some service to the Nubian rulers, at the very least been to pass unmolested through the region. However, the general consensus here is that Imhab fought his way to Miu as a part of Kamos's Nubian reconquesta. So if he's saying that during the time of Kamos, his man fought his way through there, then that's cool. I ain't necessarily interested in everything I'm reading, but it was good for us to get some of that information out. What I wanted to point to is what we pointed to, that it was Kushites during the second intermediate period. And here go some of their names in the Medu Neter, right? And you can see Kush right here. It say Kushi. It don't just say Kush. So it's like one of Kush. Shout out to my man Crenshaw. See how that say one of Kush. So this say Sarah Haka in Kush. Now we know, yeah, okay, so he's the son of Ra, the ruler belonging to Kush. But here is another where this is supposed to be for Sepedhor. Now we can look, we see a Pa, I guess this is a Pa. Yeah, Pa Haka in, the same as this Haka in. You see Haka in, and then that ruler behind it, and then we'll see a Kush behind here. So he was saying he was a ruler of Kush. But this is found all in Egypt in the second intermediate period. Elephantini, the same places Tutmos assigned his viceroy of Kush to. So Kush was all up in that area. I think I'm getting ready to go to the office or something. That sounds like a good idea. This is the only example of a Kushite ruler appearing on the written stela in the Kerma period. As Von Pilgrim concludes, the seal is not an attested epithet of an Egyptian king, but a real case of the ruler of Kush authenticating his kingship. As Von Pilgrim concludes, the seal is not an attested epithet of an Egyptian king. I disagree. That's what I'm saying. We got to look at the double kingdom. And Egypt falling apart and rulers from all over the place coming saying that they the king. But a real case of the rulership of Kush authenticating his kingship. Hyksos seals also use a similarly the construction of Hakani retinue or Hakakasut. This Hakakasut is something that we think means Hyksos, but it's just foreign rulers. And Fitzenretter has favorably compared some of the features of the Elephantine seal impressions to Hyksos seals designs and tutelary. It would seem possible then that the Kushite kings may have been influenced in their political expression, not just from Egyptians, but also possibly the Hyksos. A Kushite cartouche is also represented in the Buhin stela of Sepenhor, and it might even be possible that such cartouches were copied from the seal types such as that found in Elephantine. Now they're talking about, based on the aforementioned inscription of THR, just north of Gebel Nabari, Kushite kings could also identify themselves with the horoscope and therefore had no problem adopting Egyptian titles, deities, and religious epithets for their own purposes. But in the rock inscription at Nabari, the authors of the inscription also incorporated a typically Kushite royal emblem inscribing the lion as part of the king's name. Y'all with that? They say that's a Kushite royal emblem. It is uncertain exactly how this glyph is to be read here, but the likelihood would be that this is determinative for the concept of king or possibly the royal name itself. This is some tantalizing evidence for see that lion? Ain't know about that lion. Why? A local solar chart in Kuma based on a representation of a solar disk on a lintel on the eastern Fa, and the likely presence of an indigenous solar deity called Masa. All right. Therefore, the adoption of the son of Ra for the ruler of Kusil would not necessarily be an adoption of Egyptian royal epithet, I told you, without some local Nubian religion cachet. Inscribed Egyptian objects in Kerma classic burials suggest that the Kerma court cannot have been ignorant of the hieroglyphic script, even if they chose not to write connected hieroglyphic text or reproduce their own language in this script. Why you keep assuming they spoke another language? It's cool, but this document shows us a lot. Nubian, Kakar, Ura, all right. Yeah, this document shows us a lot, right? And it's one of the good ones. It basically shows us that it was various during this intermediate period. It wasn't only people that we would traditionally call Egyptians saying that they was the ruler of the area. And we don't often hear them talking about, even when you hear people talk about these intermediate periods. So where we at with it? I gotta put my glasses back on. These lights, I don't gotta stare at the lights. Where we at with it? What's up with y'all out there? I'm not about to do no long video. I think I'm gonna get into the world, man. And go, cause I heard some good news. So I'm gonna get that popping. But thanks for tapping in, and we'll revisit this topic more. The document I was just reading from again was called, what's it called? I'm looking for the title because I got it so big. Here you go. Kushites expression, Egyptian kingship, Nubian dynasties, and hieroglyphic text, and the Phantom Kushite King. Looking at that and see what y'all see. Thanks for typing in. Thanks for the contributions. I appreciate you.